From huge new feature launches to incredible in-person events to consistent new Pokemon releases, Pokemon Go has been a very exciting game to play these past 6 years. But it hasn't been all sunshine and rainbows. Like with anything, this game has had plenty of ups and plenty of downs. And today we look at 6 moments Pokemon Go probably wishes you'd forget about. Like the absolutely iconic Pokemon Go Fest Year 1. This was Pokemon Go's first ever in-person event, which meant it was a really big deal. It was their chance to prove to the world just how amazing their game and their community was. But a lot of eyes were on them to pull this off. This had to be perfect. And it was! Not. Now, before I say how bad it actually was, I will say it was awesome to meet so many other creators, Niantic employees, and fans throughout the day. It was a really cool event. I personally had an amazing time, but that was not the case for most people. The biggest issue? Connectivity. There were simply too many people at the same place trying to access the internet at the same time. If you've ever been to a festival or a concert, you'll know exactly what this is like. But at a festival, it's not the end of the world because you have performances to watch. At Pokemon Go Fest, you're only there to play Pokemon Go. And you can't really do that if you can't load the game. People were furious when this was happening. And who could blame them? Many people spent hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get to Chicago and to stay in the city for the weekend. And the one thing they were there for didn't work. Literally felt like there was gonna be a riot for a while there in the park. I even got booed during my first ever time being on stage in front of people. It was amazing. Now, one thing I will say is that Niantic learned a lot from this event and this experience and did a lot to help make it up for players who attended. The CEO of Niantic, John Hanke, even sat on the stage for hours talking to players, hearing concerns, and just chatting with the community. Attendees of the event also got a full refund on their tickets, $100 of Pokecoins, and a free Lugia, which is one of Pokemon Go's rarest Pokemon ever, and I do have one. It also did get a little dramatic there for a second when people started trying to find ways to file lawsuits against Niantic for the weekend, but it was definitely a difficult moment for the game. And it really makes you appreciate how far Pokemon Go has come and how awesome the in-person events of today actually are. Remember when remote raids were cheap? In April of 2020, remote raids were released in Pokemon Go to help the game adapt to the COVID pandemic. They were game-changing, probably Pokemon Go's greatest feature introduction ever. And they were cheap. Back when they were released, you could buy a bundle of 3 remote raid passes for a discounted 250 coins. And for over a year, there was a weekly 1 Pokecoin bundle with a remote raid pass. But all that changed this year. Not only did the remote raid pass get removed from the 1 Pokecoin bundle, but the bundle of passes in the shop went from 250 Pokecoins to 300. It's one of the only items in the shop that does not have a discounted bundle. But that definitely has not slowed down my spending one bit. When this change went down, the community was not cool with it. And a lot of YouTubers made videos voicing their concerns about this situation. The hardest thing about this for most players, the 1 Pokecoin bundle, because for a lot of people, it was the only way that they could raid legendary Pokemon. But the nice thing is that you could still get legendary Pokemon free from the Go Battle League, but not as easily as before. You see, they were sneakily nerfed recently. Silph Road, which is Pokemon Go's most consistent and reliable source of data, published a report on Go Battle League legendary encounter rates. They found that during Go Battle League Season 8 and 9, the legendary encounter rate was a whopping 28%. If you reached rank 20, over 1/4 of your encounters from GBL was the currently featured Tier 5 raid boss. That's fire, and a really good incentive to actually play PvP. But things started changing in Season 10. Niantic had announced that legendary Pokemon would be easier to catch from Go Battle League rewards, which is nice. What's not nice is that they significantly decreased the encounter rate from that juicy 28% way down to 16%. Now that's definitely lower, but not terrible. I mean, they're legendary Pokemon, right? Well, unfortunately, they didn't stop there. The current interlude season has seemingly got another massive nerf to the legendary encounter rate. But this time, it's like massive. Silph Road observed over 100 encounters at rank 20 and found the new legendary encounter rate to be around 4%. A massive decline from 28% only 2 seasons ago. Which honestly makes no sense, especially just coming straight off the hype of the Pokemon World Championships. Why completely nerf the largest incentive of this feature? I don't get that. Recently, there was a big controversy around a special box in the shop that featured 4 lures. The box featured the 4 special lure modules, all for a set price. But people started noticing something weird. The prices weren't the same for everyone. There were actually 4 different prices that people were getting. 350 Pokecoins, 400, 500, and 700. Yeah, some people were paying 2 times more for the same exact thing. But why though? This doesn't make any sense. It does if you're a company trying to figure out how much your customers are willing to pay for something. This is what's known as an A/B test. Basically, they were selling these boxes at different price points to see what players would spend on this kind of box. Technically, it kind of made sense and it was valuable information for the developers, but it's kind of unfair to the players, especially those who had to pay 2 times more for the same thing. There was a pretty big outrage over this, and several YouTubers even made videos addressing the situation. I personally did not buy the box, mainly because the 4 special lure modules suck. But this was definitely a weird thing to see Pokemon Go do, and I don't think we'll see them do this again in the future. Switching gears back to the Go Battle League, which, thinking about it, has taken a beating recently. Legendaries weren't the only thing that were nerfed in the Go Battle League. During GBL Season 8, players had noticed that the Stardust rewards had been reduced by 50%. Yeah, literally cut in half. To make it worse, there was no announcement that this would happen and no official statement from Niantic when it did happen. Radio silence. And the entire PvP community was insanely confused. Remember that the Go Battle League is currently the #1 way to farm Stardust in Pokemon Go, which is currently the most valuable resource in the game. And one of the main reasons for this is that PvP is really Stardust intensive. You're constantly having to power up new Pokemon as the meta changes, so when the rewards got cut in half, it really hurt players. Days went by, and finally Niantic broke their silence with a tweet that read, "Trainers, we have increased the Stardust rewards for Go Battle League to match the amount rewarded at the end of Season 7. The initial reduction was an oversight, and we apologize for the inconvenience it caused. To compensate for the missing Stardust in the first week of the season, we are increasing the end of Season 8 Stardust rewards to twice Season 7's amounts. We want to thank the Go Battle League community for noticing this error and quickly bringing it to our attention." This was a big oversight, but fairly compensated. Remember the good community days? Talking like the good old days of Calm Day, baby. Consistently banger Pokemon, always a new shiny. Now I will say nowadays the bonuses for Calm Day are light years better, but I can't say the same for the Pokemon choices. For some reason, things changed for Community Day events in 2020. My theory is that since COVID prevented players from getting together during Calm Day events, Niantic was releasing less exciting Pokemon. And I assumed that once the pandemic was over, we would go back to the super exciting fun Calm Days. I was wrong. Listen to 2019's Community Day Pokemon. Totodile, Swinub, Trico, Bagon, Torchic, Slackoth, Mudkip, Routes, Turtwig, Trapinch, Chimchar, and I'm pretty sure all of those were new shinies. That was a really good year of featured Pokemon. Meta-relevant Pokemon in the raids, really rare ones, all new shinies. But in 2020, we saw Piplup, Rhyhorn, Abra, Seedot, Weedle, Ghastly, Magikarp, Porygon, Charmander, Electabuzz, and Magmar. The biggest change? PvP-focused Pokemon, and re-released shinies. A lot of these 2020 Pokemon were PvP-focused, which only a small portion of the player base actually plays. And this level of Pokemon quality really hasn't changed since. Although we have had some banger community days recently, the Pokemon choices before 2020 just hit different. And those were 6 mistakes Pokemon Go probably wishes you'd forget. If you enjoyed this video, check out the other 2 on screen. They're just as good, I promise. I'll see you in there. Take care.